to the first episode of new series Tompott's Deadly 7. So the idea for this was I'm going to review 7 extreme horror movies. I say that was the idea because I kind of hit a bit of a road bump. I'm not a horror movie buff. I'm not, well versed in extreme horror. I've seen some pretty scary movies now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a wimp, certainly. So I reached out to a Twitter friend who I thought would have a better idea. Zobo with a Shotgun. She's co-host of the Unrated Cut. She's got her own podcast. To me, she's like England's Elvira. And I gave her a list of movies. I said, hey, this is what I'm thinking of reviewing. And she said, I'll get back to you. And she didn't. So maybe this will be a bit less extreme than I expected. But I'm definitely reviewing probably some of the scariest films of all time. Starting off first with probably top 5. Certainly in the top 10 of the scariest films of all time. That is The Purge. What the fuck was that? What the fuck?
Tompott, you summoned my help to choose some of the most disturbing films, and the ones that you suggested, frankly, they were pretty crap. So you've asked for some serious help, and I'm going to give you some of the most extreme films ever. I'm just going to choose 6 of them because, well, I think that's probably my favourite number. And I think if you can't get through all of these, then that proves that you are a total wimp. If you play by the rules and you get through it, well, I'll be pretty impressed. But for those that don't play by the rules, do you know what happens to them? I swap this knife for something far more appealing. Yours truly, Zobo.
So I got a whole bag of stuff here to, I guess, help me pick movies. I don't really know. Gotta make sure there's nothing like. I think we're safe. Okay. I don't know. Zobo's clearly very theatrical, so I want to make sure she's not going to like put a piranha or something in her. It's a dice. Just a regular dice. That's kind of a relief, actually. I'm glad I don't have to sacrifice a baby or like drink blood or something. Because I have a movie, I don't know what. I guess I wrote it. It's a dice, I suppose. That will help me pick my movie. I guess. Let's see. So before I watch each film, I'm going to react to them. I've purposely avoided researching these because I want to be shocked. I want to, have a natural reaction to some of them. I'm going to react to the title, the poster, if there's a tagline, the tagline. Guess where they're from, and I'll make 3 predictions. So, first film we have is Guinea Pig, Flower of Flesh and Blood. I think that's right. Starts off really positive. It's like, Guinea Pig, Flower, Flesh and Blood. Based off the poster I just looked at, it looks like a Limp Bizkit album cover. It's also like a DVD cover, so I don't know if this is like an out-of-print film or kind of a snuff film. Not a great poster, but I think you kind of want that grungy kind of hard rock look when you're going for an extreme horror movie, right? So, as for the title, I'm guessing it's like Japanese Korean, maybe, and that there was something maybe lost in translation. Maybe that's why the title is the way it is, or I don't know. Maybe there's some consequences I'm not aware of. 3 predictions I'm going to make. Number 1, there won't be any guinea pigs in the film. Maybe that's a metaphor. Maybe someone's being used as a guinea pig. Actually, that's not a bad call. On the poster, someone had their head chopped off, so someone's losing their head. There goes their head. Number 3, someone will be turned into a flower. I don't want to dwell on the grim details. Maybe that means they're going to be like skinned. I don't know. Those are my predictions. Let's watch Guinea Pig, Flower of Flesh and Blood. 4 noon and I'm watching really fucking up horror films already. I'm just glad I don't think that was a real chicken. This is where it's going to get bad, isn't it? Oh god. Oh. That was unsettling. How horrific would this movie be? It's called Guinea Pig. Guinea Pig, you deceptively titled. I don't even know how to review these movies, really. Do I talk about plot and characters? I guess not for this film especially. It's not really a story. There's like a loose framing device that the movie you're watching is a recreation of a fan film that was sent to this manga artist. I looked up the movie after. It's made by I think it's based on a manga series done by a manga artist. I think there's 6 of them. I don't know if they're all kind of like this, but basically this one is 40 minutes or so of a man kidnapping, drugging, and chopping a woman up. Now, it's like an episode of Dexter, really, I guess. If you saw Dexter's full wrath of chopping people up, it's graphic, quite obviously. Very violent, as you would expect. I guess you wouldn't expect it, actually, because the movie's called Guinea Pig. Surprise, motherfucker! What else can I say about it? First of all, I find it kind of weird talking about how graphic it was. I made a lot of jokes about this going up on YouTube and things like that, and too extreme for YouTube. I found this film on YouTube, the whole thing, uncut, and so I guess I just plugged piracy. Don't worry about it. The movie, our killer character is very vague and nebulous. He's he's just wearing a butcher apron and a samurai helmet, and it's quite interesting and really kind of creepy because he literally addresses the camera after every kind of big act of cutting this woman to pieces. He'll kind of go over to the camera and say, I'm going to cut off the legs. And at times he does it very on the nose, like you're like, oh, here's what he's going to do. And a lot of times he's very poetic and vague about what he's going to do. There was one moment in particular that stood out to me, where he said something about the girl's petal. Oh God, what is her petal? And naturally I'm like, oh God, that's the downstairs, isn't it? But no. So he's just chopping off a woman's legs. That's okay. That's fine. That's okay. It wasn't. So it was. I found it interesting in that regard. I don't know if it was intentional. I don't know if they were just making a snuff film or did they put more thought into this, really. But I thought it was interesting because in moments where he is vague, it forces the viewer to really think up their own method of violence. It kind of puts a mirror on you of what's in your head. Is it a really dark mindset? Is your mind going to a dark place? What's your relationship with violence? I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it works. It's a side effect, if nothing else. He also changes the lighting every time, kind of between every thing, which is just odd. But it makes the film a bit more visually interesting. And as far as the look of the film goes, it is very low budget. But it works because it's meant to be a snuff film that some deranged psycho actually made. And it's weird because there are moments that are very, very graphic. Obviously very upsetting and violent. And then there are moments where it's a little bit too theatrical. So, like, I'm trying to remember the order. He cut off the hands first, which was probably the most gory thing in the movie. It starts off very violent, or at least I thought it was the most upsetting and violent to watch because, you know, we see people losing their limbs in films all the time. It's just like, oh, he's lost his hand. Oh God! This time they're sawing and cutting, and it's not like 127 hours. It is bloody and violent, and you see like the tendons and the muscle, and it's like, ooh. That got me a little bit squeamish, but not the most. The thing that got me most squeamish, I think, like, as far as the order goes, he like cut off her hands, then cut off, I think, up to the shoulder there. I think like he had a weird name for that, I'm sure. I think he cut off the legs then he disemboweled her, eviscerated her. That was the thing that I thought was quite squeamish, because it was weird because it played with my expectations of violence in movies, because I think if you've seen any of these horror films, you're kind of used to seeing, you know, guts in horror. It's like, generally it looks like, you know, rubber gloves and sausages. And it kind of looked like that at first. I was like, oh, okay, you know, whatever. But then he picks up the guts and kind of lifts them out, and there's like, all the things are just entrailed into each other, and it was like slime on it. I think there was steam rising out of the body. Maybe I'm misremembering this. And it was kind of like, alright, that's where we're at. Oh. But then for all that, as I was talking about the theatricality of it, I guess the big finale is him chopping off the head, and it's kind of nothing compared to the rest of the stuff. It's just kind of like, the way it's shot is just not very good. As I said though, like, the film deflects a lot of those complaints that I would have about it looking kind of weird, or that it not being polished looking, in that A, it's a snuff film, and B, it's a recreation of a snuff film. So anything that's like, that's a bit too cinematic. Oh, well, they're making a film about a real killing. Yeah. So as I said, it's very short. If you're curious, you can easily check it out. It's on YouTube. Violence is pretty shocking at times. He's like has an endless supply of tools. Some really weird looking ones. I don't know what else to say. I think there is. I think what is most interesting, and I think it's because this is a film. Maybe it is because of this. Like, I was talking about how the film forces you to assess your relationship with violence and your potentially violent thoughts in your head. I hope that's not just a reflection on me. I think it's because it is so short, and because there isn't really a plot or characters. That is a side effect, and I don't know is that necessarily intentional, but it certainly works. I think it inspires a very interesting debate about the representation of real violence and cinematic violence, and where the line blurs, and how realistic it should be. Again, not sure that's intentional. It does force the viewer, though, to assess their thoughts of violence, and if they have violent ideas in their head. If I had to, you know, actually, on the other hand, it sounds like when you hear it like this, like, oh, it's a, you know, he drugs her and he cuts her to pieces and eviscerates her. You kind of think torture film, like these torture porn films that are more recent. I don't know the year. I think this was the 80s. It was the 80s actually. When this was done, I looked it up on Wikipedia, and it was actually very interesting. I'll come back to the point I was going to make, but this film at the time had a lot of investigations into it because people thought it was real. Including Charlie Sheen. I think there was like an FBI case or something. The film was maybe banned. I'm not entirely sure there. But yeah, I could totally see why people would think that at times in this film. As far as the point I was making about torture porn and those films, it isn't even like that for probably an important distinction in that it's not. It doesn't really feel like torture because the girl is drugged, and because of that, there is no real reaction from her. You're not getting the over the top like, my hand. You're getting just You know, you're getting the horrible violence as opposed to the human connection, which is, again, probably how a serial killer would view it, right? Just looking at the violence as opposed to the person. So there's interesting ideas there. Again, I only just saw this. This is kind of an interesting reflection on it. Is it a good movie? No. I mean, I don't even know if you can call it a movie in some ways, but it's an art film, I guess. It is interesting though, and it's extreme, certainly. I don't know if I want to see the other guinea pig films. Based on that, if you're a gorehound, I would say you'd enjoy it, but it's kind of a bit more realistic, so maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. If I had to give this film an award, I would say it's a must for future serial killers. I don't know. Guinea pig, flowers of flowers. Guinea pig 2. Flowers of Flesh and Blood. Okay, that's that done. So some of the scenes in this movie, in fact a lot of the movies and a lot of the scenes, are not suitable for YouTube. So I'm going to have to recreate them, try give them the idea. And I'm sure they won't lose any of their mystique or horror at all. So I'm going to recreate some of the scenes where we interact with our killer. And he kind of goes in and changes the light, says what he's going to do to the body and then does it. So I guess that's what I'm going to do. Normally he wears a samurai hat, but I don't have a samurai hat, so I'm a wizard. Which I'm sure is still terrifying. First I'm going to cut off her hands. Let's get nice and close to the light for this. Out of there. Oh, the other one. Well, that one took a bit of effort. Gonna cut off the rest of her arm now. I started with hands. Could have just done it all in one lot, but you know. Gonna cut off this thing here, the shoulder and the forearm, I guess. Gotta change my light. This would be much easier on a real human. Ooh. Oh god, that's right. That's too graphic for YouTube. Oh, it's so violent. Oh my god. Oh. Good Jesus. Legs. Who needs them? Oh, there we are. I don't know how to describe the next part. But all the guts and everything in here is gonna. Ooh. Ugh. Ugh. What does everybody want?